Hello again. This is Art Johnson with New World Communications. And it's been a while since we were doing our YouTube videos. We did a last review of Bill Gates's How to Avoid a Climate Disaster. And since that time, in August the 2nd, the IPCC, the International Panel on Climate Change, that says it's even more dire, and that we really got to come together and be more effective in dealing with climate change through climate action, concerted action. So that got me thinking, wow, man, I've got to, as a matter of habit, I've got to become more effective. And that reminded me of the fact that don't I have a book about that? And I said, wow, yes, I do. And I remembered that I have Stephen R Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People on my bookshelf, and I needed to dust it off and dive back into it and see if I can actually not only just read it, but live it and become more effective, for both my private victory and my public victories, with firstly in my personal affairs and in my business affairs. So anyway, this video is about doing this, and so I invite you to see what I've been doing with this, with the hope that you may want to embrace this and start working with me to really do it in a very collaborative and very, very powerful way. So here we go. So the book is called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And we are revisiting this from a perspective of not 1989, when this was, but really now, and to see how relevant it is now, and to apply and live it, for these are powerful lessons in personal change. So the reason why I'm focusing on it is these 3 areas having to do with my habits and becoming more effective with them. Knowledge, what to do, why to do it. Skills, how to do things, which I've really become good at that. Habits, and the desire and wanting and needing to do this. So I'm being called from within. This is why this book really makes a lot of sense to me, because it's all principle centered, and it has to do with this human spirit and human phenomena, and not the phenomenon of human potential. And so the 7 habits paradigm is really worth living. And it starts with being dependent. And these are the various habits: being proactive, begin with the end in mind, and putting first things first, so that you can become independent, very resourceful personally. But then that's not enough. You then move into interdependence, which is thinking win-win, seeking first to understand and then to be understood, and then synergizing. And there's a seventh one, which is called sharpening the saw. So let's go right into that. And I'll talk to you about how I'm applying this, and maybe you can start applying it to your own life. He starts out by having us and me understand the situations of dependence and social conditioning, and has a great Harvard Business School lesson on social conditioning and seeing. And so the experiment is, one group of students was told to see a young woman in this image. So you can see her chin and her ear, and she's kind of looking sideways and has a necklace. And she's probably pretty attractive. And so that kind of influences behavior. And then there's another group of students that were told to see an old woman in the same image here. And if you look where there was a chin, now you can see the nose of an old woman, and one of her eyes, and her mouth, a very narrow mouth. And so you have these 2 different perceptions based on what people are told. So the master lesson is how easy it is to be socially conditioned to see certain things and to even behave a certain way based on what you are told. It's a great, great lesson. And what it involves, in order to get up beyond that, is it involves critical thinking and understanding that there's a world beyond just reacting to your social mirror, and realizing how really unfree it is. And it's like being one of Pavlov's dogs, where he could condition dogs with certain treats and stuff right here, and perks, and you can and social mirrors. And we have social media, which becomes a big social mirror that's telling us not only how to think, what to see, but even how to behave. So we need to make a paradigm shift involving these 7 habits to have us be more free, more self-aware, freer, and lead a more effective life where we need to. So he talks about habit number 1 of being proactive. Proactive as opposed to being reactive. Reactive is to the external forces. The proactive model starts from the inside out. This is, deep within inside of you, at your personal center, your principled center, is the possibility of self-awareness, the exercise of imagination, to be called by your conscience, and to exercise your independent will. So there's a lot that can be done between stimulus and response. And you have the freedom to choose this. And the more that you develop your habits, you increase your response ability. Isn't that cool? That's a great way of thinking about it. Your ability to respond, not just by reacting, but being proactive to really get some change going on. And so, man, there's a lot of stuff on my mind that matter to me. I don't want to go too much in that. I don't want to spend much time here, but a lot of these are probably impacting you in certain ways. I know this climate catastrophe thing is really getting me scared. And, we're threatened with life mass extinction, and we're seeing it right now, the fires and, the wars, and just horrible conflict, and people being unemployed, and health and wellness crisis, and all of this. So but that's outside my circle of influence right now. I'm not very powerful in doing much to do that. But the whole idea is to expand, enlarge my circle of influence in things that matter. So you see, I want to have this, I want to be able to deal with all this. Now, well, how can I do this? I'm just one little person. Well, I'm not. I've got this silent partner, and I'm a part of this giant, this oneness we'll talk about a little bit later. But anyway, the next habit is to begin with the end in mind. And this is a great chapter. Imagine that you're invited to a funeral, and everybody's very somber, and they're dressed in black, and you smell the flowers and everything. You look down in the coffin, but that coffin is you there. And then he asks the question, what will your family and other people say about you? Okay. What do you want? What do you need? What do you want deep within your heart? You want them to be able to say about you. Wow. Just think about that for a second. Well, what it does is it informs your personal mission statement, which then you write down. It's not enough just to think about it and have it just go out of your mind, but write it down so you can see your word expressed. And the way I think about things is in the terms of a story within that I'm being called to tell from within. And so this is how I lay it out. This is the structure of story, where I enter the earth plane, inside a striving, visionary African-American family, growing decade after decade. But the more I grew, the more concerned I got, and the more my circle of concern got larger. And these were all the same things that I just showed you here. But things change when you listen to this divine voice within that continually has guiding me and is having me navigate my life to a point where I arrive at a pivotal turning point by rediscovering this book, which just kind of brings a lot of it together. And so now I'm starting to experience private daily private victory from the inside out by recognizing and aligning with these principles, shifting my paradigm and understanding and living the 7 habits, and expanding my circle of influence. And I'm doing this YouTube to do that. So instead of being just private, I'm sharing this with you, which you can then think about yourself. So it's about expanding my, this is my personal mission statement, and that has roles. And so what I've broken it down to is, one of the roles is as an individual, developing myself personally. So my goal is to confer on a daily basis with my private partner to achieve private victory by these habits of being proactive and all of that, habits 1, 2, and 3, resulting in independence financially, where, I don't have to count on anybody else. I then I move to achieve public victory by mastering these habits 4 and 5 and 6 and 7, resulting in interdependence that helps humanity and our planet. And these are some of the tools and resources. The wing tool is my main, but my mind, body, and spirit. But then all of these other tools, technology stuff, and all of that, and the roles I intend to fill. So that's one role. But I'm a husband and a father. I'm a CEO and a CLO. Then I'm an author, where I have a book inside of me, several of them, but I need to really put more time into that, and to kind of use my resources in a cool way. I'm also a wannabe musician. I have a keyboard, electric piano, and I want to learn my scales and all that. So you got it. And as an artist, I come from a very artistic family, so I need to sketch something. You need to paint something inside a tilt brush, which is a 3D program. And to visit Seattle Pottery Supply, one of my old clients, where I did their website and their massive catalog, and maybe check out ceramic studios and start producing sculpture and pottery again. Wow, I need to set aside some time to do that. And so what that then does is get me into a Quadrant 2 planner. This is a really amazing book because he really goes through 3 levels of life management and time management. And the best one that he can say that is related to making sure that your personal mission statement is always referred to is his Quadrant 2 planner, which you can see that I start with, here's a role for individual personal development and goals. And then you organize on a weekly basis, not just on a daily basis, but you're looking at the big, there are 52 weeks in a year. So you can really look and see how you're doing, evaluate that, and keep tweaking this as you continue to develop and cultivate these habits. So it's all based on this time management matrix, which is also a life management matrix. So a lot of us just kind of spend time in things that are both urgent and important, pressing problems that we got to deal with. But a lot of us have also things that are urgent, but really not that important. Interruptions, calls, email, reports, pressing matters, popular activities, but they don't really get a lot of leverage. They don't create a lot of positive results. And then so we kind of burn out in that. And then we spend a lot of time in Quadrant 4 activities. It's just trivia, watching too much TV, just doing phone calls just to kind of chill. But the stuff that's kind of in our personal mission statement, that's all in Quadrant 2. And so what we need to do is do some things that are preventative, so we don't have a crisis. We don't have these urgent crises. We don't run out of money. We don't do these things. And so we need what we call not only production, but we need production capability, or production capability that has to do with learning and skills development and building relationships with people through what we call investing in making deposits in emotional bank accounts with people, so that you can make withdrawals and not be overdrawn, and recognizing new opportunities and planning and recreating your life. So that's what this is about. And it all builds character, Because character is really what wins when people say, do I want to deal with you? What kind of a person are you really? Are you trying to manipulate with me? Or are you trying to help me? And so also, it also has to do by putting first things first. You can then move from being just a producer. And, you know, a producer can invest only 1 hour of effort and produce 1 unit of results. That's assuming that you don't have any loss in efficiency. But a manager, on the other hand, can invest 1 hour of effort and produce 10, 50, or even 100 units of results through quality stewarded delegation. Not only just telling people to go to and do this, but empowering them, training them to really take on certain parts of the business that you don't have to deal with, and you can trust that they're going to get it done and check in with them. And so this whole paradigm thing is moving from dependence to independence. So we just talked about, you know, all of those things which were being proactive, beginning with the end in mind, and putting things first. And then you become independent. But independent is not enough. You got to work with people. No man is an island. No woman is an island. You've got to work with other people in a good way. And this is a very diverse world. They're not all likely to be exactly like you. So one of the things is, so we move into habit 4, which is to think win-win. Now, a lot of us just think either win-lose or lose-win. And sometimes when we get frustrated, like it's in a divorce, we'll say, okay, well, both people lose. The wife gets mad and wants to, you know, take the husband to the cleaners, and the husband who has a fancy $25,000 car sells it for $50 just to spite her, and they both lose. That's a good example. And then a lot of people, you know, I win and you lose. That's how people are thinking when they want to, you know, with stuff. And so the goal is to achieve win-win, which takes both courage and consideration. That's why we have this thing. So the more courage you have, the more you can enter into win-win, and the more considerate you can be. So that's related to habit number 5, which says seek first to understand and then be understood. Oh my goodness. Now this women and men thing, it has to go with both ways, okay? Men, we have to first seek to understand what women are about and what's on their mind and what they deeply care about. But women need to do this now with men. And, you know, and what we, you know, what we do and what we care about. And we're not, you know, we got to stop being just victims. We really we need to be victors in private and public ways with each other. And, you know, straight and gay, progressive, conservative, left-wing, right-wing, pro-vaccine, pro-mask, anti-mask, dove, hawk, Christian, non-Christian, believer, non-believer, you know, it goes on, black, white, okay, it just goes on, rural, urban, it just goes on here. And so the idea is to synergize and to realize that synergize, here's in the Asian way, this is the Taoist way, this is the Taoist symbol of yin and yang. And, you know, the kind of the integration of the feminine and the masculine in you. I mean, it does not necessarily have to do with your sex outlook or the way you see yourself, but the integration of feminine and masculine aspects in both of you. And also in Western philosophy, here's Hegel talks about thesis and antithesis and synthesis. The Buddhists talk about fishing for the third alternative. And I think Stephen Covey is kind of influenced by all of that in terms of achieving this synthesis, which is better than the either, kind of brings together both the thesis and the antithesis of people. And so you can see it kind of related. Here's a whole continuum here. If you have low trust, okay, and low cooperation, the best you can do is enter into defensive relationships. which is not really cool, where either I win and you lose, or you win. It's kind of Democrats versus Republicans and all of that. Or you can then go to, with more trust, you can have a more respectful compromise position, which is where the Senate and the House of Representatives used to be for a while. And then you can actually move into a synergistic win-win situation. Another thing is to say, either we're going to win-win or no deal. Wow. Now imagine if you say we're either going to win-win and no deal. That could be a stifle, particularly in climate change, as climate is still happening. And you don't create a synergy here, a win-win. Climate change is keeping on going, and the longer that we wait, the more we risk at extinction. So that no deal is pretty strong here. So the last one has to do with sharpening the saw. And so it's based on, what Abraham Lincoln said. If I had 6 hours to chop down a tree, I'd spend the first 4 hours sharpening the axe. So imagine you're in the forest and you see someone chopping down and just exhausting themselves, but you realize that they've got a dull axe and they haven't taken the time to sharpen the axe. So the idea is you're the tool. You're on this earth plane. You're the tool. Your body, your heart, your mind, your spirit, they can't be dull. And if you don't take time to sharpen yourself, then you're not going to be that effective. So if you turn it around and if you work on sharpening these areas of your life, these are dimensions. Now, man, this is so important to me because I've had heart issues. I've had bypass surgery and some stents. So I'm working on the exercise and my nutrition and my rest and my stress management. And I'm making consistent deposits in people's emotional bank accounts. I'm giving a lot. That's why I'm doing this free video here, to help build some trust, to get to know you and like you and trust you and have you know, like, and trust me, and to enter into some key relationships here. And to continually develop my mind through reading and writing and learning and studying, and to serve people by any way that I can in terms of the values and clarifying my values and being inspired by literature and inspiring others and meditating and participating in nature and learning about nature's laws, which are God-given, by the way. So this is really, really, really good. And my habit 7 says to sharpen the saw based on, these are things that are on my plate that I intend to really, really become more effective with before my memorial service here. My virtual focus groups to get people on the same page and create win-win situations, developing of my YouTube channel with programming, doing workshops and courses on how to do it yourself, doing robust, powerful mobilization campaigns that can be culminated by world-class virtual conferences and trade shows, to use my instructional design services with my own enterprise. I'm just not so focused on other enterprises that really just don't have the framework, the expansiveness of the framework, but to do this for my own enterprise here as a chief learning officer. And of course, to stream physical world events for those things where people want to be in the physical world and it's safe to do so, but we can also have other people be there. And then to culminate things with, global strategic partnership building services. So this is really, a way of integrating all this between that stimulus and response. Those are kind of using my self-awareness, my imagination, my conscience, and my determination, my will, which is all coming together by developing my habits more effectively. And I just watch out for people saying, you don't have to do any more work, just buy my software, just get my website and it'll do it all for you. It doesn't work that way. None of those just tools alone will do it. I mean, I'm a technology wonk. I mean, I really am a technology person, but it's not enough. I have to be a decent human being and continually work on investing in people's emotional bank account, in my emotional bank account, so that I can make withdrawals, needed withdrawals. It's a matter of balance, balancing your account, balancing your life account, your personal account, and all that. And it's about committing, learning and doing, committing, learning and doing, committing, learning and doing. And every time you do that, you're expanding your circle of influence. Wow, is that cool? Okay. And so that's what I'm encouraging you to do. Hopefully you can do it with me. Start out by, if you have that book, go ahead and get it. So here's some things the next to-dos for you. View this series again and reflect on what it could mean for you as a matter of habit. Aren't there some habits that you could be better at, be more effective with? And, do you like this video? If you do, weigh in with your thumbs up, or even if you don't, give your thumbs down. Make a comment, okay, at the bottom of this video here. Subscribe to my channel and click on my bell to get notified of more great content to come. And visit my business website, New World Communications, at www.newworldcom.com. And find me on LinkedIn and read my LinkedIn article series called Developing Business in a 21st Century World. And then visit my Wisdom Empowerment website at wisdomspower.com and browse Wisdom's Vault to experience information on highly effective people in their lives. What I did is I actually took the structure of this book and use this as kind of a navigation way to really experience this. And you'll see this video inside of that website. And buy the book. I'm not trying to rip off anybody. I'm trying to really flow more good. I believe in an abundant universe. So buy the book or dust off the copy if you already have it. It does no good just being on the bookshelf. Just check it out. And thank you. And let's connect because you matter. So anyway, this is it. I really, really enjoy you taking the time for this. I'm cutting this up so that you will see that there are other versions, that there are, several parts to this. So you can just take the time, look at some of the stuff and think about this, and then really start to practice and live some of these really great resources to develop yourself as a very, very effective person. Thank you so much.